Friends, it's Everything Mayor. I'm your host, Tom Butwin. Back with another episode, this time recapping the final two full band shows of 2025. We had the Palm Tree Music Festival and the Rise Lantern Festival out on the West Coast. Maybe not the coast, but the western portion of the United States, giving a few shows. We're going to talk about those, go over the set list. We'll talk about the shows that were announced overseas, talk about some of the variety or lack thereof in these sets, and I have another hot take that's going to upset people, potentially, so stick around for that. Let's go right to the set lists. We'll start with October 4th at the Palm Tree Music Festival. I'm going to read it down to you. Here we go. Last Train Home, Queen of California, Who Says, Love on the Weekend, Good Love is on the Way, a snippet, so technically not really even a song. Wild Blue, Belief, I Don't Trust Myself with Loving You, I Guess I Just Feel Like, Waiting on the World to Change, Slow Dancing in a Burning Room, and Gravity. So as we've done before, we'll pick some highlights. And, I saw some video of the engagement that happened in the middle of Gravity, which is super cool. And John acknowledged it. But the coolest part about that was that he deftly incorporated Here Comes the Bride into part of the Gravity solo, which, I mean, not surprising that a musician of his caliber can do that. It's a fairly simple melody, fairly familiar melody, but to do it in such a way that doesn't feel forced and feels organic and fun is where the true talent lies there. But as a whole, the set is generally what we've been seeing. This is kind of what I predicted going into these things. And I've seen a lot of discussion on this. We're going to talk about it here after we go through the October 5th set list, slightly longer at the Rise Lantern Festival. Last Train Home, Queen of California, Who Says, Love on the Weekend, Wild Blue earlier in the set this time. Belief, I Guess I Just Feel Like, Something Like Olivia with the Dead, They Love Each Other tease off the top, and then I Don't Trust Myself with Loving You, In the Blood, Slow Dancing in a Burning Room, Waiting on the World to Change, New Light, and Gravity. So here's the thing. If we look at the past 2 weekends of shows, you kind of have like two versions of this set. You have the condensed and then the slightly expanded. And you're essentially seeing the same songs in both of those. There's certain songs that don't seem to make the condensed version, and then there are certain songs that don't, they get included in the slightly expanded version. So I touched on this last week a little bit, and I think this will be related to my hot take, but I've seen discussion of this on Reddit too. There's some practicality to not having a wild variety in these sets. So I'm going to be speaking on behalf of people who I should not be speaking on behalf of, like John Mayer and the band. But my best guess is that, much like the literal layout of the stage, which, I mean, on any tour is going to be the same, for every show. They're not improvising where they put the keyboard, and percussion rigs. But it just makes sense to have kind of a dialed in set of songs for shows like this, because to be honest with you, he kind of does this with the traditional full band tours as well. Now, we have gotten very lucky, and I think a little bit spoiled, in that he built a couple tours, I should say, in a similar way as to like how the Where the Light Is DVD is structured, where you get, maybe a John Mayer trio set one year, an acoustic set. You get the full band set, occasionally he'll play Continuum front to back, those types of things. So we have gotten used to those things. And I think we just have to remember, these are not normal shows for him. These are festivals. And if I, do my mental math correctly, and this is probably easy to say, most of his shows have not been festival shows. Most of his shows have been his own shows. So you get a little bit more leeway. And to be honest with you, I'd have to go back and look at some of the set lists from previous tours about how much they really changed things up. There's always sections of the shows that are kind of set in stone, and they just are what they are. And that's due to maybe there's some production elements that go along with that song. For example, Last Train Home opened every Sob Rock show, almost every Sob Rock show. And there was a set piece that came down that literally said Sob Rock. So there's elements like that make sense to keep things the same. But he always builds in a little bit of time, usually on a solo acoustic type thing, to have some variety. Now, where I will tell you that I was a little bit surprised is on this last show at the Rise Festival, Goose was on the bill. And I would have thought just potentially we might get some type of a collaboration there. And I know some people are lamenting that did not happen. And I thought it was maybe possible just because of the Dead and Company, Goose, that whole world, they kind of live similarly. I know they know each other. I would have thought maybe there's an opportunity for like, hey, let's do something on the end of I Guess I Just Feel Like, or let's bring him out for Queen of California. It might be cool. But let's back this up again. I bet they wanted to. You have to think about whether or not it's worth it to do this, though, because again, this goes back to a touring festival, one-off type show practicality. They don't have, yes, of course you could do it, but everything is kind of set in place. When Dave Matthews Band goes out on the road, for example, they have things in place for guests. So they make it very easy for themselves to have someone drop in. And they usually already know who's going to drop in where on the tour. But they have things in place. They've got channels on the board available. They've got, maybe floor monitors for the person who's coming in if they're not on in-ears, that kind of thing. So they just didn't bring that, would be my guess. And it's like to have somebody come out on stage, it's a tight setup, even though the Rise Festival was a pretty large stage. The band footprint was exactly the same as it was at Henson, where they practiced this. So I think that's why. And I know a lot of us sitting, well, just do it. Why not? Yes, I know and he could. They could do it. The crew is more than capable of putting something like that together on the fly. But it's just another variable. And it's also like, I don't think he was trying to make these like iconic, cornerstone performances. Not to say he wasn't giving it his all. The band wasn't, because they sound great and he sounds great. But I think this is kind of just, hey, let's get back in the groove of things. Let's get back in the saddle. Don't have to go too hard. Let's do what we know works and leave it at that. Now, one thing I will say, I've heard from multiple people, I've seen from multiple people, the mix out front has been a topic of conversation. And we've talked about this. We've talked about some people have been disappointed with the how out front John's guitar has been in the mix or not out front. There are people who have commented that the background vocals have been like noticeably louder than normal. I've heard, again, I didn't attend any of these shows, so I can't tell you firsthand. I'm going off of second and third hand accounts. But finally, and I've heard this from Youngstown, and then I found a clip, and to me, this just can't happen. But at the end of the set, John will go to say something to the audience, and his mic is muted, which it just can't happen.
Thank you.
But here, before I pass judgment, because I don't know who's mixing out front, and they have a huge job, a huge responsibility, let me just talk about a few possibilities, because I've seen multiple people mention that this happened at multiple shows, and it definitely happened in Youngstown, and it definitely happened in Montecito at the Palm Tree Festival, where he goes to say something and the mic is off. Now, you might be saying, well, I see the video where I was there and he just kept talking. The reason why he keeps talking is he doesn't know that you can't hear him. He can hear himself in his in-ears because there's a totally separate engineer who is mixing what the band hears. So to John, he's still live. He's still speaking into the microphone, and he's not going to notice over the cheering of the crowd or the band, stinging a note at the end of song, that he's not going out through the PA. So that's one thing. The other thing, before I just lay blame squarely at the foot of who is mixing out front, is there's a few things that could be at play here. One, I'm relatively certain that if you see John standing on what looks like a mat of some sort, this is not just for comfort. Most of the time what this is what's called a gate, okay? And it's a pressure-sensitive gate. And if you stand on this pad, the microphone opens or turns on. And when he steps off of the pad, it closes or turns off. Now, why would you do this? You do this to clean up the mix, because that vocal mic is going to pick up his amplifiers. It's going to pick up Lenny Castro's percussion coming right at it. It'll pick up, to some extent, Aaron Sterling's drums, that sort of thing. So it cleans things up and makes the engineer, both monitor and front of house's job easier, because you're not going to sit there and turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. It's activated by John literally standing on it. You see Dave Matthews use these. You see everybody in Dead & Company using these. It's very common. Sometimes they even have something called an optical gate, where there's actually a sensor on the microphone. It can sense if your face is close to it, and it will turn it on and turn it off and that sort of thing. So that may malfunction. Possible. But I doubt it. He was standing squarely on that pad when speaking. So I just want to put it as a possibility. The other possibility is they ran over time and the festival is cutting him off. Here's why I don't think that's the case. The only thing that's muted is John's vocal mic. So again, I'm trying not to be judgmental or swift to make accusations, because I wasn't there. All I'm seeing is cell phone footage, and all I'm hearing are comments from you guys on the internet. So, but barring those two extenuating circumstances with the gate and someone else who's not in the John Mayer camp muting that microphone, in my humble opinion, it is inexcusable to cut off the star, the talent, as he is thanking the audience. And that's when it kept happening at the end of the set with Gravity. So I don't know. That to me just lends itself to a whole nother discussion as to maybe what's going on with the front of house. But again, I am not the person to be criticizing. I'm not a front of house engineer. I have experience on stage. I understand it, but that is a big job. It's a very difficult job. And especially when it comes to 5 basically one-off shows in 5 very different environments, it is not easy. So to whoever is mixing, I am not judging you. I'm just wondering what's going on with the mic at the end of the sets. It is a challenge, as we've talked about, because of these environments, to create a consistent environment for the band and for the audience. When you're on a normal tour, things settle in. It's a little bit easier. Not so much when you're doing stuff like this. So let's get to my hot take again that might upset some people. And, maybe not. But I think I'll be the one to say it. We were all... I knew this wasn't really going to happen, but I'll just speak for everyone. We were all hoping that there'd be new music, maybe more variety to the sets as far as the songs chosen and played. And I think a big part of this is, the simplest way to say it, is John's involvement in Dead & Company has maybe ruined the traditional John Mayer show. And then the solo tour has done that as well, because we've gotten used to this organic spontaneity that exists with Dead & Company and exists with the solo acoustic tour. But again, practically speaking, that becomes very difficult as you add in production and a band. Okay, that's not to say this band could easily have done just about anything Mayer turned around and asked them to do. I promise you that. They are incredible. But, would it be to the level that they want to put out there? Maybe, maybe not. And that's probably why they don't do it. But I will say, I do think that his recent projects have kind of ruined the traditional show. But here's what you have to remember. If you are watching a podcast called Everything Mayer, hosted by some person like me, you are a different level of John Mayer fan. You are not the fan who is buying a ticket to a festival and saying, oh my gosh, I get to see Mayer and I get to see all these other people. I hope he plays Daughters. I hope he plays Your Body's a Wonderland. And I hope he plays Waiting on the World to Change. You're not that person. We are the people who want to go there, and we want to hear, we want to hear new music. We might want to hear, we lose our minds if he played Wheel off of Heavier Things, or something along those lines. The deep cuts, as they say. So he, talked about this even on stage banter of like, well, I don't know, I see those signs. It makes me want to play that. But then it's like, I know somebody else doesn't want to hear what's on that sign. So you have to bridge the gap. And I think the selection of songs that he made for this is great. I mean, you have things from basically almost every era. I don't think Room for Squares was represented to my knowledge at all. But you've got like everything. You got the shredder, like, big epic solos. You've got the acoustic kind of thing. You've got the more Dead and Company inspired, Grateful Dead inspired things like Queen of California, Who Says, that sort of stuff. They're in there. And I think like if you're going to take a cross section of John Mayer's catalog and say, hey, these are the only songs you can pick to show an audience who maybe is not his normal audience, I think these were the right songs. You're showing growth. You're showing you're not relying on your body's wonderland still 25 years later, and that kind of thing. But I understand it. I understand why you might be disappointed. Now, I haven't talked to anybody who went to the show, any of the shows, or seen any comments from anybody who went to the shows who left disappointed. And that is because this band puts on an incredible show, and they are really, really great musicians, and they're really great songs. So, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. But, I think we are a little spoiled. And honestly, as somebody who comes from, my other musical obsession is Dave Matthews Band. And if you're a Dave Matthews Band fan, you know that, the hardcore fans argue like, this set was terrible. Oh my gosh, I can't believe they opened with Don't Drink the Water again. There's a lot. And they sometimes even gets back to the band. And, they make comments back to people like, hey, we're doing our best here. I've seen Jeff Coffin, the sax player, say things like that. But, DMB, they go hard with that. They'll play the Gorge at the end of the year. And they'll play 3 shows, no repeats, and they're playing the entire night. They're playing like 2 hours and 45 minutes. Those shows are long, and they're not repeating any songs over the course of 3 back-to-back nights. They will hit hundreds of songs on a tour. That's unique. Even Dead and Company doesn't do that, okay? That's unique. Dave Matthews Band is in kind of a different, I won't say league, but they're in a different approach to their touring. It's part of the game to be so unpredictable, and you will get surprises throughout the tour, and they know that. They play off of that. But DMB also tours literally every year, album or not, with the exception of a couple times here and there that they haven't done a full-scale tour. They've been out there since 1991, touring literally every single year. And when you do that, and most of the time you're not touring off a new album, so you got to do things to make things different and interesting. If you look at Mayer's tours, the majority of them have been in conjunction and with a album release. And when you do that, that gives you the variety right there. You've got all the classics, all the hits, and then you've got all the new stuff that you're looking forward to hear as well. So as we move into the new era of John Mayer, I think there's a transition period as he transitions from being that album tour cycle typical artist of 20 years ago. Now we're transitioning. I think we're going to see it. I think you're going to see Mayer full band tours kind of morph closer and closer and closer into what he does with Dead and Company or what he does on the solo tour. That's my take. What's your take? Let me know. And with that, we're going to go into the After Dinner Night, where we have just a couple things, quick things to talk about. Actually, one thing to talk about. No, we'll make it 2. One thing I will say is thank you. I have seen so many comments on these videos, from people who have been to the shows or want to go to the shows that are like this long. And they're incredible. And I just so appreciate it. I'm going to get to responding to them. You have given me so much information about these shows that I unfortunately could not attend. So I appreciate it so much. Thank you. You are as much a part of this as I am. And I know that people watch these videos are reading those comments and enjoying them as well. So thank you very much. Exciting news, regarding the 3 shows announced overseas. With the solo tour. Let's talk about that real quick. I think, I was talking to my friend Gummy Visuals, Silver Sky Guy, depending on if you are on YouTube or Instagram, about this. And the solo tour seems to have become this like franchise within the franchise, which is super cool. And I don't think it's going to go away that's a way for him to get out there, not bring the whole band, not bring the whole big production. It's more nimble, it's more agile, and I think it's going to give us more of what we want, which is variety. When those shows come up next year, he's hitting places he's never been, playing for people who've been waiting for years, maybe their entire lives, for him to come out there and play. And I think we're going to see some pretty special things. It's similar to how, like, when he goes to Brazil, and those are always really, really special shows. So that's exciting. Now, lastly, final exciting thing. I was talking via Instagram to one of you, Loretta, who went to the Pilgrimage Festival shows. And I will credit you. It was technically my idea to do this, but I'm not the first one to do this, obviously. But Loretta sent a voice note explaining her experience at the show, which was super fun and helpful. But I said, wait a minute, what if we have more people do this? Get your actual input, not just in the form of written comments, but audio snippets that I include in this show, whether it be questions, whether it be comments, whether it be, just experiences you had at certain shows. Let's do that. Now, I'm going to limit it right now to members only, and that's the Born and Raised Again level members only. They have the link to submit audio. So if you are interested in doing so, make sure you check out the membership option, which also supports my efforts here on Everything Mayor. But if you are currently a member at that level, find the Telby link and you can come in, drop a voice note just right on your phone, send it over. I'll get it, take a listen to it, find a way to hopefully incorporate it into the show. I think it'd be a fun, interactive way to spend more time together talking about John Mayer and his music. So that's all for this week. Got some exciting, got a couple interesting videos, kind of like off-cycle videos coming up, which I think you're going to really enjoy. One is a secret mission I had over at PRS Guitars. Stay tuned for that. We'll see you next time.